Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I've got a very cool game for you guys today. It is the South African chess champion, James Dinham, and sadisticTushi. A very well-known or up-and-coming chess content creator, I suppose. Subscribe to both their YouTube channels, please. And they played a game against each other. I got inspired for this video because I saw their collab. They collabed, you got their perspectives while they were playing this first game. But I didn't see the video for the second game. So, this first game you may have seen before. I know the intro is a bit rambly. But they shared their thoughts as they went through this game. They played a rapid game. And then they played a second one. So, we've got National Master James Dinham versus sadisticTushi. So, we had d4, knight to f6, and now knight to c3. This is the Indian game, I suppose. We get bishop to d5 and bishop to f4. It's a London. It's a Jobaba London specifically. You're retaining the threat of, potentially doing things like this. a6 prevents that. Now e3 and now h6, which is an interesting idea. Not the main move, but you're keeping the idea to play g5. So we get a bishop to d3 and now the best move, which is c5, striking back at the center. You are threatening potentially to take. You're also potentially going to push the pawn. White doesn't really want to take because they surrender the full center. So they play knight to f3. But now here already an inaccuracy from James. He plays knight to c6. The engine prefers, and we won't do this for every inaccuracy, just for this one. The engine prefers you do something with this pawn. You either take or you push. Because by taking, you kind of force them into the structure, or by pushing, you force the bishop back, and you gain space. So knight to c6. Knight to e5 is the best move. Knight e6. Takes, pawn takes, and now queen f3. Straight up mistake. The best move in this position is knight to a4 to look to already grab this. So, for example, knight to a4. Now you would get c takes d4, pawn takes d4. And now, let's say bishop d6, right? This is potentially what we're going to be getting. Yeah, queen f3 is not it, but this move is very aggressive. It's putting pressure back on this. You're threatening to take, potentially. You're also giving us yourself the chance to long castle. So we get queen to b6. It just targets this. Now, this next move is crazy. It's long castles. Long castles. This game is about to get chaotic. Now, the best move, the only winning move is to play c4. James misses it. He plays c takes d4. He takes in the center, takes. Now, both of them were considering whether he could take this pawn or not. Both decided it's probably a bit too dangerous, so we get bishop b4. Queen takes d4 was the best move. They both thought this was risky, but this is the best move. And then, for example, h4. And now you can play like bishop e7, and, like king b1 and so on. You can play like this. Bishop b4 is a mistake. We can now get bishop e5, the best move. Bishop takes c3 is an inaccuracy. You have to take. Mate was threatened. Now queen comes out to a5, but now takes. And from being completely lost, sadistic is up a pawn. Rook's kind of got two choices here. Do you slide over to g8 or to f8? We go to g8 first, keep the activity. Because, right, both kings are now going to be hunted. The question is, whose king is weakest? There is ways for, this rook to get in and help the queen out. The bishop probably needs to develop and you try to castle, but you can't do that with the queen on f6. So both kings very weak. White is better. King d2 now, holds together the pawn. We get c5, cracking back in the center. Obviously, if you take, it's just beneficial for me. But I'm laying waste at all of this. We get rook de1. The constant idea of sacrificing is very appealing. Playing like a bishop f5, sacrificing the rook and whatnot. But there's just bishop d7. And it's still an advantage for white, but there's no knockout. So we get bishop to h7, now rook f8. Apparently the best move here, by the way, is, what is it? Queen, hang on. The best move in this position is d takes c5. Or queen takes h6. Those are the two moves that you need to consider. Bishop h7 is kind of incorrect. There's rook f8. Now we get rook to b1. Rook to c8. Rook to b1 actually is a very good move. It seems stupid to move your rook a second time once you put it on the e file. You need to get the b file, because you might want to land on b7 and put pressure on this bishop, and that is what's going to happen in just a moment. Rook c8, rook b7. Although the engine gives inaccuracy, still advantage for white. C takes d4 now, queen takes d4, and now rook to c4. And here is where it gets very tense. You can see James, he's had a time disadvantage for most of the match, for most of the game rather. But it's an interesting position. He's got pressure on this. And if he could play king here and get the second rook in the game, he's going to be level. White has to kind of do something now. Queen e5 is a very annoying move, simply because it pins this queen, because you would have liked to have played d4. For example, if you went back to f6, there are now examples where you can play d4, and you begin chopping at the king, getting at it. But queen e5 is played. Now king e7. Rook hb1, rook fc8. Both guys have doubled their rooks. This is coming down to whose king is weakest again. The bishop doing a fantastic job, the queen doing a great job, and the rook's now looking to get in on the 7th rank. We get rook 1b3, queen c5, and now bishop d3 blunders the whole advantage. It allows queen takes f2 check, king goes on a run, and now there's this move, rook 4c6. But the best move that probably keeps it close is you can play f6. You can play f6 now and hit the queen. It's the best move. You always got to worry if, for example, like queen h4 coming in here. But f6 now, you kick out the queen. The queen has to go to somewhere like e2, is what the engine is suggesting. And then we get this trade, which would be quite good for white. Yeah, so f6 now would have been good. King gets to b2, queen takes g2, and now rook a7 is wrong. Rook a7 is wrong. The best move in this position, the best move in this position was this move, queen f4, which gives you pressure on both things and keeps you on this diagonal. It's really difficult to decide what to do. Rook a7. Queen g5 now offers queen trade. We don't get it. But now rook 8 c8. Rook here we have to take, and now the king drops back to e8. Queen b4 is a mistake. The advantage gone once again because it's queen e7 check. Bishop blocks. Queen d4, queen c7. Rook comes back now. a5 is just a blunder because, and I can show you this too. One move, bishop b5. And after all that hard work of getting back into the game, James hangs a a pin. It was a pin and win, and now he loses the pawn. His rook gets out the way, and he just never gets the counterplay that he wants. He's running low on time. He's got 20 seconds versus 40. He's down the exchange. Eventually, there is a queen trade, which is forced. And still, it's not clear. There were a couple of inaccuracies in queen takes b6. The queen trade was not good for white, and this should be a draw. Bishop and the pawns versus the rook. But James doesn't have time. He sacks a pawn. He gets his king nice and forward. But he's got 9 seconds versus 20. He's going to flag. There's no increment. There's nothing you can do. And in this position, James Dinham flagged after rook to g7. He was completely lost on the board. But what happened in the second game? He had the white pieces. He played knight to f3. We got d5, g3, knight to f6, and d4. So a bit of a Tartakower game, kind of kings, pseudo-Catalan kind of stuff. Now it kind of is in a neo-Grunfeld. It's, queen's pawn position. It's very similar to the previous game, but it's not as chaotic. Both sides have decided to fianchetto the bishops. The queens are still at home. The pawn structure, I suppose, is slightly similar, although this was doubled up the previous time. It's still a d4 game. We get bishop e5, the knight drops back. We get this trade, which is beneficial for white because now there's some potential dark square weaknesses. This knight doesn't have an easy way back into the game unless it goes back to f6 and then looks to come this way. So white, for the moment, has got a comfortable edge. Probably rook to c1, queen to a5, but you can simply play knight to a4, rook fc8, and now a3, bishop f5, and here, inaccuracy, b4, But queen c7 is wrong. Queen c7 is wrong. The only move here, you got to go all the way back to queen d8. And there's a reason for this, because after queen c7, there is bishop takes d5, tactically winning the pawn because of the pin against the queen. So he lost via pin in the first game. He now wins via pin in the second game. He wins the pawn. He attacks the bishop. He puts his knight on a good square. We get these captures. And he's just comfortably going to use this pawn majority to mow Sadistic down the board, James. From the James Dinham Chess Academy, he allows the trade of light squared bishops because he's not worried about light squared weaknesses. We're not worried about dark squared weaknesses. We're worried about these 3 pawns. Rook d8, constantly looking for pins because, you want to take, you want to undermine stuff. If there is ever takes, then the queen was hanging, and so forth. And now, still, you're maybe threatening to take. Not quite, because you lose the exchange, but you might push or something. King drops back, we play h4, rook a2, and now d6, queen e6, queen d4, h5. h5 is a mistake. It's hard as anything to do something with black, but you have to take this. You have to take this and allow this. And just say you're not going to push it through. And then here play something like rook e2. There would most likely be then, you could probably play rook e1, but then you hang this. Yeah, rook e1 loses, because of what? c5. Crazy. Okay, c5. Yeah, and you can't defend the pawn. What if I play queen here? Then rook takes, and now rook takes d6. You lose your most advanced pawn. So h5 is wrong. You have to take e5, rook e2, because now the idea with rook e1 works. Takes. You can take here, but I take like this. Again, if I had taken like this, constantly pinning the defenders of the pawns, this rook on e1 would have been hanging. f6 looks to undermine. We could just play f4. There is no weakness to my king. We trade queens, and e6 is the final move of the game. No time trouble in this position. Both players played this game very, very well. Game review gave them 93.7 for James Dinham, 85.3 for Sadistic. A lot quieter game compared to this first one, where they were just like attacking each other with haymakers. I can see why they made the YouTube video about this game, which was just absolutely crazy. I mean, we had like queen f3 is something you don't see. Queen b6, long castles, upside castlings, throwing everything at each other. Both kings were weak. Both kings were weak in the first game. This game, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, really? I mean, it was a couple of good moves from James. He found, bishop takes d5, where he won a key central pawn. And then after that, how it transpired, he managed to use his e-pawn, had these captures, where he now had a central 3 on these 2, and pushing the bishop and the queen out the way. So we had this idea to trade the bishops. But you see, this pawn only comes in later. So we get this, and then what happens is we get to push again, and when he's able to play e5, he's just completely winning. So he enables the move, e5, and then from here, there was nothing anyone could do to stop these pawns. Again, using the f-pawn to come in and make sure these 2 are very solid, and you just can't blockade them forever. We force queens off the board, but then after e6, you can resign, because if you take this pawn, I push, and there's nothing you can do to stop promotion. It's mate in 5. So 2 titans of the chess world, of the chess content creator community. They had 2 games against each other. It ends a square draw, 1 win apiece. Should we make them play a decider? I'm sure they will play each other again in the future. But no, it was really fun to look at their games. Really fun to listen to the insights. They're both stronger players than I am. Of course, James is the South African world champion. I was in the section with the people who kind of know how to play the game. He was in the section with the people who really know how to play the game. So, we shall see how it all goes down. What goes down? Now I've lost my mind. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you check out these guys' channels if you haven't already. Maybe you're coming from their channels and looking at this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.